artists, the studio members, and we have visitors. So we are at the reception for my work, for Wade Hampton's work. So thank all of you in this film right now, and those of you that are not, you're missing out. See you at left of center. Adios. Okay. Okay. So,
I just want to thank everybody for coming today and being a part of this. We're so happy to have Wade here today and to share his work with us. And some of it's very personal, and some of it is through his studies and everything, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy the talk. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary Lou, who has hung the show so beautifully, and then she can introduce Wade.
And who are you?
Say Vicki? No, you didn't tell them.
That's the hot show.
I'm Vicki Richardson, and I'm the director of the art gallery. Right. Honorary director.
She's the boss.
She's the hot show.
So I'm Mary Lou. I think most of you know who I am. So thank you for coming out again. It was a pleasure hanging the show. I remember when Wade first came in here, and it's always interesting because you do have artists that come in a lot and they want to have a show. And he gave me his website information, and I went on and I was like blown away by the amazing ability that he has, his technique. So I was really excited that we were able to have an exhibit with him. Just a brief introduction. I don't know a whole lot about Wade, except that I know he goes between here and New York and Los Angeles. I know he's also a professional dancer, which is also amazing aspect. But we are celebrating his art today. He has a Bachelor's of Fine Arts from the Kansas City Art Institute, which, if you don't know, is a pretty well-known art school. He also has a master's from School of Visual Arts, a master's in Fine Arts from the School of Visual Arts in New York City. So you can tell he's very well trained, and so thank you for agreeing to do the exhibit and the talk, and we just really appreciate you being here. So
thank you. Once again, my name is Wade Hampton. I want to thank each and every one of you for, should we turn this way? For choosing. I always like to say choose, because you could have chose to do something else, but you decided to be here. There are many other things which are pertinent things which are happening right now, so we're all fortunate enough to be blessed to be attending this right now. But yeah, so this is the exhibit, and it's titled Passages, Faces, Street, and Land. I like to tell some people that being a visual artist is just the surface. We're all taking a journey, and I like to say journey because let's not get in the mindset that something ends. A journey never ends. If you get to the top, then it's like, where are you going to go? You go down. But so through your journey of this chapter, what are you doing to remember things? Are you writing them down? Are you making songs? Are you taking selfies? Or are you doing paintings? So you're documenting your journey as you go through. So I'm a documentarian and just happens to be an artist. This person may be a documentarian, but they're a scientist, so forth. So I see it more that way. This is more of just the outer surface. So, but passages, that's where the term passages come through. It's like a road, it's a journey. And so within those passages, you have faces, and you have streets, and then you have land. The faces that we can most identify with, the street, the places that we reside and live on, and the land. Places that were founded. Places that are owned, which are probably owning land is probably more important than so many other things. Anyway, I don't want to go off, but passages, faces, street, and land. And so right now we are in the main gallery, the large gallery. And for me, I thought it was really cool that first of all, I just want to say that this space left of center is a very amazing space in that it houses and it can cater with and offers so much. And obviously, for those of you that are members here, that are artists here, you can attest to it more than I can too. But you have the gallery space, you have the studio space, and I recently found out a month ago from Mary Lou that there is a figure drawing class, and you have the really amazing permanent collection upstairs. So there's a lot of things. For those of you that, if this is your first time here, hopefully you'll be coming back. There are so many things that are offered here. This exhibit is just one. If you have any sort of positive feeling about this exhibit, that's just one thing of what happens here. This is just one thing of everything that goes on in this building. So imagine that. Take that for thought. But yeah, so we're in the main room, and there are 5 rooms. And I was talking to Mary Lou, and I was here like a few months prior, and I just wanted to walk through and just kind of sniff it and get a feel for what was, how I wanted to go about it, or just a feel for the space. And I thought it'd be really cool to sort of give some type of narration or give a theme to each room, since once again this building is able to do that. So right now within this show, we're in the family room. Family room meaning that it's focused more on. Let me see. Actually, let me start back here. Hello. Hi. Welcome. We were waiting for all of you. You may. Right this way. I'm going to start this way. So, young gentlemen, young ladies, if you can make yourself on it, I don't want you to miss out on anything. I'm going to start from this painting right here, and I'm going to go around. So, okay. So.
Your hat's in the way.
So I'll try and give a little bit of information on each piece. This piece, I would say, is the focal point of why I paint the way I do. This is I guess it's titled The Books. I try and do my best. I want to keep the title simple, so that way the mind can sort of focus more into the work. But it's titled as The Books, meaning that these are, once again, books, stories, chapters, passages, journey. You can see where it starts to, where my mindset is. But these are books of prior painters, Diego Velázquez, Rembrandt, Edgar Degas. This is the John Sargent book, and this that small book is Edgar Degas, The Dancers, and that's a painting that I did. This is in my studio in Jersey City, and it's like that was on the floor. I just kind of laid the books out. It's almost like at first glance, it's okay. Why are you painting some books? Why is you just kind of threw them out there? Paint something more exciting. Do something more. Get into it. But these are why you're seeing all these other stories. Apply the way that they are. These painters brought something so much to the table that I continue to study, and I was able to learn a little bit from, and then bring my own take into it. These painters are primarily figurative. A lot of these painters, Velázquez, Rembrandt, Sargent, and they were mostly society painters. I mean that Velázquez was a court painter, meaning that after so many years, once he had passed, then the public finally started to become aware of his work. It was basically in the castle. But these basically. The way that these guys painted, their application, their drawing, their color, their basis for drawing and painting, everything was like, for me, I thought was like, insane, unbelievable, So these guys were doing it, at a point where it's like all they just had was just to paint, no apparatuses, no animation, no things like that. So I really like. What they did, and I thought this would be the start off. We're going to move to the next piece, George Lewis Stewart. Now this is, you may want to, I don't know if some of you want to come up closer, if needed be. You can come in if you want to, since this piece is so small. This piece was an oil on wood, and this is ballpoint pen on paper. And this is my great-grandfather, and I don't have the, there is actually, I did there was a family photograph, family meaning my ancestors, when my grandmother was like 4 or 5, that was taken back in 1925, black and white picture. And then my aunt, who's now 93 or 94, she wasn't even born during that time, so it was, she was actually superimposed in the actual picture, but George Lewis Stewart, the Stewart Miller family, on my mother's side, is where I reside from. So he was the grandfather of that family, and he had, I think, like 12 or 13 kids. George Lewis Stewart, his wife Laura Miller, the Stewart Miller family, and obviously that was well before my time. But it's like, I would ask my family members, whatever they knew about him. My mother, obviously, she wasn't born during this time. My grandmother, she is since passed. She was like, I just barely remember my grandfather when I was maybe like one or two. I just remember him sitting on his lap and him giving me gum, like a very vague memory. And they're like wondering how do I remember that. But that was my grandfather, this is my great-grandfather. And so sometimes I'll quickly jump to that large piece over there. Sometimes just as a part of it as a practice or as a way to see things large and small, get up close, get back. I like to sometimes have things intimate, sometimes have things like larger than life in its presence, so that piece right there, sometimes it can feel so large you may just pass it by, but it almost feels like there's another person in the room. There's like a guardian. He's like, watching the gallery, so don't take nothing, don't steal nothing, he's watching. So, but that's George Lewis Stewart, ballpoint pen, and that really entailed for me so you can sort of see like the contrast, like from large to small to large. And so I like to, whenever I had an exhibit, I like to showcase these pieces at a placement where you can kind of see both. So like right here, if like you look and see how small and you can see how large that is. So I think that's interesting. I mean, this artwork is just as large as that guy's eye, so it's always interesting. That's like a practice, but it's like for all you that are here that are artists, whatever way you paint or draw, you get it, you understand it. So we're gonna move to this piece right here. This is a titled, what's a preparatory sketch. This is a precursor to The Family. So for those of you over there on the south wall, if you turn around, you can kind of pair these two up. Once again, artists can attest to this. Sometimes we jump into a piece. Sometimes we have to plan a little bit more. This is like somewhat of the blueprint. Your initial concepts, your ideas. And so this is just to get familiar with the figures of what I'm painting. It's like when you meet someone, when you hire someone, there's an interview, and then they get hired for the job. This is kind of like the interview, and that being the job, so to speak. But once again, my work is just an example. For those of you that have not been here, that have not been into the studio next door, you may walk in, you may see sketches and things on the floor, and you may see a large grand piece. They're working up. These are the ideas that are building up to that final piece. So this is the side of the family. And it's the father, and obviously the mother, and the two younger girls, and just some minor notes. Sometimes it's just a drawing, sometimes it's just, a lot of times it may just be all words. Words, stories, those are things that'll help me get into, besides meeting the person or learning more about the person, just the words will help me figure out, okay, how can I get into painting this, so these are just like those preliminary ideas, And so this leads up to that painting here. So as we all turn around, and this, what I really like about this piece, that it's very nonchalant. This piece is, you have the father on the right side, the older daughter in the middle, the wife and mother on our left side I was reviewing, and the little baby twiddling her thumbs and kind of wondering what's going on and just partially nervous. But so for those of you that are familiar with some of the painters that I mentioned in that painting over there, once again they did a lot of figurative pieces. They were society painters. They painted like people that were like high society, people that were of lower class, but it was a figure. It got down to the personality, it got beneath the surface. And my idea, I'm always hoping to, every time I look at a piece, I'm like looking at it like, damn it, I could have done that better, I could have done this better. It is what it is. It is what it is.
You can't help it, huh?
Yeah, no, we can't help it. But this is just like a relaxed, it's a moment where the family just kind of, they were walking and someone told them, hey, sit down. They all just kind of just slop down and they're not really like fixed. It's, the shoes are not on, the older daughter's like, she may be, who knows, she may be about to be giving her father the little ear sign, who knows, so, and the mother's trying to, see, she's holding her baby, but she's trying to shuffle him and shuffle her on her leg. And so, you know, the older daughter, she's only going to sit there for that, you know, for so long in that position, you know. So, but I just think it's a very endearing portrait, meaning that we have a family, we have a father, a husband and father, mother and wife, and 2 daughters. And if you were ever to meet them, it's, you know, it speaks of them. You know, it speaks of them. The daughters are, they're so close to each other. They're so close to their mother, and the husband and wife are so close to each other. So I thought this would be, that was like the main focus. And so, but as a painter, I wanted to like try and give some sort of, I didn't want to make them feel like stiff, like, you know. So what I really like about it is just that it's very relaxed. It's very sort of like just almost like a last minute thought. Like they're just walking through the room and like, hey, sit down for a moment, you know. And then so like we're just capturing them as is. So I really like this right here. You know, the mother's, you know, wrist is kind of like this. It's kind of like that. I really like the little, you know, when little kids, when you know, for those of you that are teachers, or if you have, you know, kids or grandkids, you know, kids are always like, you know, just kind of, they're doing all this.
Antsy.
Yeah, they're antsy. Yeah, they can't like sit still. So, and then there are smiles. The mother's smile is nothing's too overt. And their eyes, they're all like, if you walk from left to right, for the most part, they're following you. That's another thing. As a representational painter, as a figurative painter, my idea was like, okay, if the subject matter is going to be looking at the viewer, you know, you want to paint technically, but you also want to give a feeling like, you know, if you walk from left to right, it's like, you feel like somebody's like watching you, you know, that sort of thing. So, I really, the more and more I look at that piece, is like there are other things that I like about it, you know, the thicks and thins of the paint, you know, the sort of letting some of the wash show through, the thicks of some of the highlights, you know. So I was telling Mary Lou when the work was brought in like a month or 2 ago, it's like every space is different, you know, every lighting situation is different. So it's like, you know, we brought the work in, it's like, wow, I did that, you know, oh wow, that's cool. So I'm seeing like, you know, good things and bad things, like because of the lighting in each room is always different. So we're gonna make our way to this guy here. There's like, what, 40 people here? This is like the 41st. But for those of you, if you want to sort of make your way back in, if you choose to, let me see what I can get for your. Okay, cool. So you sit over here. Kind of going back, the books, George Lewis Stewart and the Family. And this piece is, well, it's like there has to be a balance with, if I'm going to meet, you know, what's your name, sir? Maurice. You don't mind standing up, sir? We'll use it as an example. So let's say like Maurice and I, if you can stand over here and just face me. So Maurice and I, we're walking on the street, or we're coming for a meeting. You know, we're gonna buy a building or something. So we're coming to meet, and so, but there's always a way where when you're talking with someone that you have to engage in order to create a balance to start a conversation. So if I am, you know, step further back, don't fall over. If we're this far away and we're talking about, you know, buying up a building, it's not, we're too far away, it's too uncomfortable. But if I say, hey Maurice, you know, that building on 45th Street, and you know, it's like, he's like, get off me, man. You know? So there's like, there's a balance, you know, so if we come in, you come in, sir, and then we sort of meet here, we shake hands, how are you doing, sir? Nice to meet you. This is like a good range, you know, so. Within that, I've titled this piece "A Game of Chess," meaning that, you know, every time we meet someone or we cross paths with someone, there's a balance that we have to, whether we know it or not, we have to play in order to engage someone. Even if we don't want to engage someone, there's a balance, there's a distance, there's a respect, there's eye contact, and so this piece is that it's playing with the viewer.
Yeah, it is.
And it's this. I'll say this is not technically. It's not quite. There's a lady here that pretty much turned it. It's almost life size. She's exactly correct. It's generally it's in a life-size dimension, but it's not technically it's not quite life-size with the actual figure, with the actual person. But you have life-size pieces, and then you have miniature pieces of the George Louis Stewart piece. You know, so but this piece, Game of Chess, it's basically, you know, the subject matter is watching the viewer, is watching the person very, very carefully. You know, don't tread lightly. You know, shall I say? This, for those of you that have figured this out, some of you have not, but this is a self-portrait. There was one person like, you know, wondering like, okay, what is, you know, so this is in my studio, and very, very challenging because my studio is quite small, and then the lighting is not, you know, my lighting is warm. It's not like cool light for all of your artists. You get it. You know what I'm talking about. Warm light, cool light. So I could only get back so far to look at the painting, and then I had a box that I was setting up on to paint the portrait, and it was the mirror and the lights and everything. There was a tripod from the lights, and it was just. There was a point where I was like, you know, I kept having to go over the torso and the hat. I was like, man, it's like, maybe I should just, I hate to say it, but maybe I was like, think of something else to do. This is like too crazy, but it's those are the trials, those are the challenges that you face in your endeavors. In this case, as an artist, in this case, as a figurative painter. In this case, you know, painting, you know, a portrait with the mirror. But so this figure is he's wearing a hat. A very large hat, and that's what I use when I'm outside. When I came out to the Southwest, the West Coast, I would go out and I would paint outdoors, and the first couple of times, like, not first couple of times, for a little while, it's like, I just didn't wear a hat, you know. Springtime, summertime, and for those of you that know about the Southwest and the desert, it's like, oh man, that's suicide. So it's like within the next day or two, it was like, I was like, skin was flaking, itching, it's like, oh man, this is too much, you know, and also the light. If you're painting something and you're at an angle facing the sun, it's like, you know, it's not good. So the light's like facing into you. So I eventually got this hat, and it's been a lifesaver. And then this guy, he's wearing the blazer, bow tie, slacks, and some shoes. Oh yes, those have since these are actually some Stacy Adams that I got at a shoe store. I was getting for those of you that are not aware, I'm also a dancer, as Mary Lou had mentioned. So the bow tie and the blazer is what I would wear for different performances. My focus of dance is salsa. Specifically, it's New York style salsa. Meaning that there's salsa throughout the globe, but New York is its own world. It's a whole culture of any and everything. So when I say New York style, it's like the people before me had learned from others, and then so this person developed a technique, which he happened to be living in New York, and it happened to be on a technical count, which is in New York. And then when you would go to the nightclubs, when he was young, he would have to sneak into places like the Corso or the Palladium. For those of you that might be familiar with those names of venues, but he would tell all of his students, meaning that directly or indirectly, how he grew up, and then how he eventually, you know, created a technique, pioneered a way of dancing which is specific to New York. So it's not only the technical way, but it's also a culture. It's a movement. It's an attitude, you know. So that and when you're in a certain city for whatever amount of time, you eventually it just bleeds through. So, but yeah, so I'm also a dancer. My focus is salsa, but it also entails other folkloric dances, other technique dances, Afro-Cuban, Haitian, Catherine Dunham technique. I actually met her before she passed away at Riverside Church. So, and she was, you know, just not to go off too far, but I want to quickly note this. Her technique was, she studied Martha Graham. She was also in school for anthropology back in the 40s. She went to the islands and she became aware of folkloric dances, and thus she started to fuse what we know of today, which is now fused throughout every dance school, technique school globally. You know, that schools might not say it. You know, you might, Dunham technique, or you might, be taking another class and you don't realize that the teachers don't know that it's Dunham technique. It's just ballet and folkloric isolation technique is a strength building technique. Very strong technique. My dance teacher, he's been dancing since he was 14. He's now 93. Wow. So and he still teaches 2 to 3 days a week. Lives in New York City. Still take trains, stairs, walk-ups. So dancing is well, dancing meaning that my father was playing music when there's 4 of us. 4 of us from my mother and father. But when we were as young as I can remember, he was always playing music, and so we were just around sound and rhythm. We just started dancing, and then one thing led to another. I just happened to have tapped into a creative side of being a visual artist, and so eventually went to an art school, and then eventually started taking like actual dance classes as opposed to it being a hobby. So. Both eventually at some point became very serious to where it's on a professional scale, a professional level. But that's why, just not to go off too far, the Stacey Adams, I was actually at a shoe shop getting some shoes repaired, and these shoes were there on the shelf for sale, so I got those. But I've danced them so much at so many congressos, so many dance festivals, so many socials that I've since worn them down and thrown them away. So, and same with the slacks. They've been repaired so much, on the side of the seams, it's stitched and stuff so much. It's like I just got to throw them away. So, but everything that I'm wearing, that the subject matter is wearing, the belt that's gone. These are all items that I have worn or do wear. The shirt. So getting back to the title, this is actually in my studio. Once again, it's small, so I wanted to create a dance area. So behind this drape is actually mirrors, and there's a ballet bar which I put up. I just got the materials from Home Depot, a rod and closet hangers, and put it to the wall. And this drape is actually from some fabric I used to have when I would do events, a lot of events back in New York. Sometimes I would collaborate with different venues. Sometimes things are just makeshift. So these are some things that I had, and I still use this to drape off for this self-portrait, to drape off the studio when I'm lighting different things or doing different photo shoots. So this is the drape within the studio. This is actually the dance floor. I got the 2x4s and the wood. Just had them cut it down, and so they're just screwed into the floor. And so it actually looks like a chessboard. You have the squares. So you have the squares there. So. A game of chess. It's like when you walk up to that guy. It's like from left to right, from right here. It's like he's like watching you from as soon as you walk into that door to that far corner over there. It's like we're gonna be cool, but just keep your distance. Yeah, keep your distance. So let's move along. So this is a family room, ladies and gentlemen. So now we're gonna make our way to, or all of you. I can explain out here. My voice carries loud. For those of you that want to if you have not been into the video room, you have the family room, we have the video room to your left as you enter. Some of most of you can walk into, right now we're in the landscape room. For those of you that have not been into the video room, you may make your way into the video room, you may continue walking we can gather around in the landscape room. And yes, there's quite a few of us.
Which is wonderful.
Half of Las Vegas, which is good. Yeah, no, take your time. Take your time. No problem. Come right on in, sir. I'll bring in some seats for those that want to. Okay. So, for those of you that have had a chance to make your way into the video room, which is really cool about this space, does anyone need a seat? Everyone's cool? Cool? Yes. Okay, cool. We're now sitting in the landscape room, but I'm going to sort of narrate the video room. And the video room is a result of what's happened here in the landscape room and also in the adjacent room, which is the last room. And so basically, as I was mentioning at the start off, it's like I just happen to be a visual artist, but the idea for me is I want to document my journey. So those videos, Mary Lou was able to set up to where the videos loop. there are actually 3 videos on the projector. There is the Golden Gate. There's the bongo drums, which is actually a still life within another gallery space. That was actually set up from a show last year, so it was actually in my exhibit, painting live for the viewers to see. So I thought that was a real treat. But that was documented, and also Niagara Falls. So we have the Golden Gate here, and we have Niagara Falls here. And for those of you that are more technologically aware, you're seeing like these weird little like puzzle-looking pixelated squares. Those are QR codes. So if you don't do anything, if you walk through, if you don't sign, if you don't take a card, if you don't say hello, if you just want to kind of like be the most introverted introvert, but you want to take something with you, you can just basically open up the camera app, and it'll scan it, and then it'll open up YouTube. Right there, it'll give you a notification, and then you can go into YouTube, and then you can actually see the painting on my YouTube channel.
Nice.
So I thought that was a real, and so there we go. So there's that guy. Yeah, who's that guy? But this is Niagara Falls. This was actually done several years ago. The interesting thing was that this was it was Tuesday, July 4th, but I was in another country, you know. So I was meeting a lot of my immediate family. We converged for my mother's birthday up in the Bronx, and I had a little bit more time on my hands, so I was flying back up, and I was coming from actually a dance festival here in Vegas, and it was crazy because, you know, dance conventions, dance festivals, you know, it goes from workshops to performances to live bands to people social dancing 5 or 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. So that whole weekend, I was up, and then I fly to New York, and I get to JFK, and like I had little or no sleep, and then I had to take a train to Jersey City, and then I didn't have to, but I chose to. I chose to do this, but it things, you know, you can choose to do things, you know, as many times as you want, but there are times when the moment is just now. So it's basically one moment, you know. So I remember picking up the car in Jersey City and driving 9 hours and chewing on food just to keep myself awake. And it went from, I thought I got my keys locked out of the car in Buffalo, New York at 10:30 at night to when I was returning the rental car. Before I left Vegas, I got to the terminal I dropped off the rental car. I got back in the shuttle to go to the other terminal, and I was already sleeping on the shuttle bus. And then the people from the rental car company, they knocked on the bus, and the bus stopped, and then they shook me and woke me up. It's like, your keys, sir. Like, what is this? Those are my keys to my apartment. So I never would have known that whole trip. I wouldn't have known until I gotten back. So all that, I could go, there's some crazy stories, but that all builds up to these things happening here, which makes, you know, the moment, you know, that much better in the end. So there was, my mother's birthday was coming up, and I had some time on my hands. It's like, I haven't been to, a lot of my friends have been up to Montreal, I've been here for Salsa Festival, I've never been there yet, so let me go rogue, let me go solo and get up there. Oh man, gosh, I remember I was so tired and wiped out after the whole weekend of not sleeping, maybe 6 hours, 7 hours total, and then, you know, getting up to the border and then being accosted by security because I drove up and I was in a car and I was half asleep, and I'm so-called black, African American, right. You know, but I can pass for other nationalities, you know, Latin, you know, or Cuban, or you know, Panamanian. So I get up there and then I'm half asleep, and then, you know, the customs are like right there, and then, you know, they're like they're packing, you know. So what are you here for, sir? I was like, I'm half asleep. It's like 10:30. It's like 11 something at night. It's like, I'm gonna go paint Niagara Falls. So like, what if you don't know about painting, if you're not an artist, or if you're not at the shows, like, what the F do you mean you're gonna go, you know, paint? So they're thinking of like, you know, a larger company, like a construction company. They're looking behind my car, like looking for like I had a little hatchback. They're looking for like a larger cab or something, equipment, buckets, paints, and all this stuff. And I remember mentioning that a few times, and after like a few minutes, they just said, you know, excuse me, sir, pull over, sir, and go inside. So I had to take my ID and my passport, and I had to go inside for about 10 minutes. And so the lady was questioning me, and then I finally said, excuse me, may I go, ma'am? So they finally let me go. But and then I had to travel another hour to get to my stay. So that was like, you know, I wasn't done yet. And then, you know, the Airbnb was advertised as, you know, quiet place, but at 6:30 in the morning, the little 5-year-old was up running around on the hardwood floor and making noise. And so I had to travel an hour back to Niagara Falls and then find parking like an eighth of a mile away and carry 20 or 30 pounds of equipment. And then all this was like, you know, sometimes you can research stuff before you get there, but this was like pretty much walking cold. So, and then I realized like, dang it, I'm in the tourist area. I'm in like the Times Square. I'm in the Vegas Strip. I'm at Niagara Falls. So it's like parking is like, how much an hour? 15, 20?
Yeah.
I just had to like swallow everything. It's like, I can come back next month, but the moment is now. So I just like, I didn't even look at the receipt. I just like, you know, it is what it is. So I walked there and I set up. And so what you have here with Niagara Falls is, as with Golden Gate, and with another piece as we'll get to in the last room, for an artist, for a representational painter, once again, going back to the books, that first painting, they painted from life, you know. I'm guessing all of you would rather go to a live concert of your favorite artist than listen to a CD, or listen to an MP3, or listen to a record, or listen to, you know, 8-track, or whatever. You'd rather see or meet that. You know, if I'm a video screen, what good is that? Would you rather choose me being here or seeing like a video screen being rolled around? You know, so it's like, you know, seeing it in life, you know, sniffing it, smelling it, seeing the actual colors. The best cameras, the best equipment can really only go so far. You know, the $30,000, $40,000 cameras that professional photographers have and use, they take amazing pictures, but it doesn't compare to the naked eye, to what's being presented in nature. So that one, there's so many other reasons, you know, is why I've chosen to take some affinity and carry on as far as like painting from life. So painting from life meaning that I can paint my self-portrait like in a large piece, or this is like challenging. Because imagine, it's kind of like the same idea like being in Times Square or being at, like if you're actually used to sketch portraits in front of the Bellagio during the hot summer months, like a few years back. And I remember thinking like, how? I remember like, you know, being out there the whole day and sketching portraits. So it's like, imagine being in that environment where you have hordes of people, waves of people coming through every few minutes. And then they stop, they either bump into you, or they look, or they ask for a painting, or are you an artist? Well, you know, are you an artist? So, you know, after a while you get it, you know. So every 15 or 20 minutes I would get, you know, 20 or 30 or 40 people just walking by. And the thing with these projects were solo. Sometimes they're not really last minute, but it's like they're so focused on like what you want to, like, you know, on your vision. It's almost like I just felt it was best that I just do it myself, meaning that I have to paint this in a specific way. I have a certain amount of time. I want to go to a certain place. Who's going to travel with me 20, 30 hours round trip or whatever? Who's going to stand with me? Who's going to be out there for 4 or 5 hours in the hot sun? Who's going to tell people to don't bump into the camera? You know, who's gonna? It's like, oh man, this is like, you know, my veins about to pop. So it's like, let me just do it myself. You know, you're never going to leave yourself. So you might as well do it, you know, at times when you just want to do it yourself. So that entailed being everything from, for those of you that are you're strictly focused as painters, you know how much it goes into, you know how much you have to put into like creating a work of art or concepts. So imagine traveling, imagine taking your iPads, tripods, setting it up. You're basically, you're being a production crew, but you're also being the main actor. You're also being security because as you see on the video also, but once again, if you won't have enough time in the day because within that video room, there's 4 hours, 3.5 hours, and 2 hours.
Wow.
So that's like a full day of, you know, and I wanted to just let it, you know, record it and let it show through that way to give it full transparency of, you know, of the process, you know, and then people can see. For all of you that are in this room, if you're artists or not, you understand to a certain extent, okay, how an artist may work. But for some that may come in here today and like just have no idea, you know, this will give them, you know, somewhat of a little bit of transparency on how an artist works. So, but yeah, that was from setting up. In this case, going in cold, and then, you know, setting up. And then you have to stage your canvas, and you have to get back and sort of see what's the angle that I want to paint at, and then you have to stage your camera, and then you have to frame yourself within the the camera device, which is a whole nother story. And then you have to sort of, so I'm there painting and I'm watching like, if the painting's here, then I'm like, right, the camera's here, so I'm 12 feet away, and then the sidewalk, you've got like 20, 30, or 40 people coming through. And so I've got a $1,000 iPad recording it, so it's fixed to the camera, so occasionally people would bump it, and it would fall over, and I would turn around and I was literally like, if you watch a whole video, there are some candid moments where I had to tell several families please be careful, watch your children, or you're gonna have a very expensive vacation. So I just had to be straight up. Sometimes you're in situations where you're all alone in a certain way. So you just want to be. I was constantly turning around, constantly painting, constantly turning around, watching. And then there were really nice people that came up and wow, that's nice. I connected with a few people on Facebook. Some people would stopped and if I'm painting it and that's if the landscape is out there, then they stop in front of me. I wouldn't say anything. I would just let them walk by, because my thing is that would just disturb the whole process. You don't want to. You're not to script anything. You just go out and you just record life. So, but that's that wore me out, because I was like, man, that was something else. But that went on for maybe maybe 4 hours, and obviously you got to get this in one shot. Wow. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you can. But I chose to do it in one shot, so it's and that's a cool thing, because you really stop thinking and you just do, you just do. So I like to say you New York it, when you're in New York, when you've been there for a little while, you just know you have to get up and go, you have to get to the subway or get uptown, but you don't really think about it. You just know you have to dodge people and go up and down stairs and maybe take a break, but you just have to you don't think, you just go. So that was really something. This piece, the Golden Gate, is pretty much, I was able to plan that a little bit more. I was able to research it a little bit more. And I was actually going to San Francisco for I was performing at an anniversary of a salsa studio, but I had some time aside, and I went up to Sausalito, and I was able to research that angle. So I thought that was more dynamic than being on the San Francisco side, painting the bay. And that was, I got into a few discussions with a few people. So it's on there. I mean, if it's not on there, it's because I was switching. You're painting, then if you're not being disturbed, you still have to turn around and check the device, make sure that it's recording. If the screen is blank, then you got to change the battery. You got oh man, I missed 15, 20 minutes. Damn it, I missed that highlight. So. But that was that wore me out, because it was a windy day, but it was sunny, and it was just after 4 or 5 hours, it's just your eyes are just worn out, So, but that was and I can see. I mean, once again, it's I'm there live. I can see things that I would have done in other situations, but I still see some really nice things that happened. But yeah, that's the bay. That's San Francisco Bay. To the left is Oakland, Alcatraz. To the right is the ocean. But yeah, this video room has all three, meaning that Niagara Falls, Golden Gate, and another painting, the bongo drums, which is in the last room. And so if we turn around here, this piece is that was challenging, because that's in the hills in Los Angeles. And within my once again, we're going back to documenting your journey. So within the means in which I'm able to do so, I like to travel from west to east to a different country if I can, or from small to large. Get contrasts of different things. But that is within the hills in Los Angeles. If any of you are familiar with that area, being lived or visited, what have you, that is along Mulholland Drive. That is the Hollywood Bowl. It's an outdoor amphitheater. They actually make it up close. Yes, it's an outdoor amphitheater where they do events, performance events, pretty much yearly in LA, pending weather. I'm standing, unofficially, I'm at the Hollywood Bowl overlook, meaning that there's a place where when you go up Mulholland Drive, you can park, and then you can get out and you can look through the telescopes, but you can also walk up the stairs, and there's a larger area where you can semicircle area where you can really see the city. But then off to the side, you can go down a dirt road, which where many people do, and then it clears out, and then there's you pass this electrical fence box, and then there's this open land where you can see everything. It's unofficially a part of the Hollywood Bowl official look of it, but I was there. I tried to get away from the public after what happened in Niagara and Golden Gate. Well, especially Niagara. That was oh man, that was something. I literally got into a discussion with a wife of a family, and it was something. But this guy, that person, that was it's all in the video. So I haven't even watched it, but it is what it is. But that's all a part of it. That's all a part of things called live. So who would have thought a guy who apparently looks as approachable as me could turn into a honey badger. And I say honey badger for so but that's the 101. We have downtown, we have this nearby neighborhood, and then off in the distance we have, my thing is I wanted to capture that sort of late morning. It spans from late morning to early afternoon, meaning that the light it wasn't changing too quickly, but it was changing enough to where it gave me a little bit of leeway time. And I just wanted to capture the expanse of the valley. When you're up on the hills, it's wow, City of Angels.
So you were down basically here.
I'm actually up on the hill. I'm up on the hill. I'm right here. These bushes are maybe real close to me.
Okay.
Real close to me. And they're up on a high hill, and you're just looking down. So I tried to set up as close as I could, but I wanted to get the right angle. And I
blockade, then you can look at this drops down. So
yeah. You don't want to step 10 feet over. Or you don't want to do that. But off to the side is you go down the hill. There's an area where you can still walk down and take pictures. When you look this way, if you look that way, you can see the sign. You can see the Griffith Observatory, and then you can back that way is the Getty, Brentwood, and all these other places. The four, you can kind of the 101, the 405 is back this way, and you can see certain areas, certain towns and things. But that took a while because even though I was away from the official viewing point of the overlook, there were still tons of tourists. Actually, I connected with quite a few people, and unfortunately for me, it's the viewpoint that I wanted, the composition that I wanted, I had to stand in front of the pathway and then paint. I couldn't get behind the pathway. It was just too much going on. So I would be painting in a zone, and people would be walking behind me, taking pictures, or just walking up looking, and it would throw me off. So with weather, with traveling different places, that started early 2018. That went through maybe the fall, because I was just doing other stuff. So I can only work on it so many hours in a day, And it was just, realistically, it was, the behind the scenes, it was rough. A lot of things our endeavors can be very challenging, but there was, within this story, there was a lot. I chose not to set up my camera and equipment and everything. I tried to get my cousin to help me, and it was just too much to ask. It's basically being on call for the whole year, going, traveling up to the hills and being out there 4 to 5 hours each day, coming back maybe 2 weeks later, it was just someone just to stand guard. So I couldn't, I didn't have the luxury of setting, getting that on film. So, and that was because of the viewpoint. The Niagara Falls, in hindsight, I say I should not have done that, but I should have done it. But it's that was something else. That was you got to be in so much of a zone where you're just you don't see anything but that. That was much crazier than that. Even though there were a lot of people there, it's that was something else. Yes.
No,
Okay.
I was just wondering, in Niagara Falls, you were on the Canadian side.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Looking.
Oh yeah.
And here, I don't see any shadows in there. Was it?
It was sort of midday. You can start.
Okay.
It was midday, to early afternoon. So you can see there's a Capitol Records building right here. You can kind of see some shadows from early afternoon, but it was kind of that. I remember going up there in the morning, and then morning and afternoon, the light changes dramatically. It's going to change so quickly. So that was my best time to go. And then even still, for those of you that are familiar with LA, about sometimes in the mornings it's foggy or it's rainy. And then in most cases, it clears away by midday. You know, it's like, oh man, another rainy day. And all of a sudden by midday, it's like, okay, cool. You know, so it's like, it was like I would get up there and it's like cloudy and I had to wait. And there was a lot of things that entailed into it. But we'll make our way over to, some of you may be familiar with this piece. This is much closer than you think, although it seems much farther away. That's basically looking north toward the Red Rocks.
Yeah.
And that's basically if you're driving north up Blue Diamond and you park your car and then you walk up maybe like 40 yards up on the hill. You know, I had the luxury of sort of, well, I mean, in these days, if you're painting and after, you know, if any one of us is painting anywhere, you know, set up, if you're not doing something that's typical, you're going to attract some attention no matter where you are. If it's here, if it's there, so you think you're alone in the world, but someone's gonna see you, you know. And so I'm up there painting, it's not typical these days to see, you know, a so-called young black man up there painting. It's like, okay, what is he doing? It's like, you know, what is he doing? So it garnered a little bit of attention. People would, you know, riding their bikes, motorcycles, cars, they'd park, walk up. But it was much, much less than any of these pieces here. So I was able to, you can see if you glance at the other pieces, that looks a little bit more rendered, a little bit more developed. And that's really like what I'm trying to go for is just that the conditions, I want to try and give like a good gesture, a whole moment of the whole piece. And sometimes I'm not able to, it was just that like, I mean, seeing this in person, seeing all these houses and everything, it was just like, it always like, you know, threw me off because there's so much going on. So, but this was more quiet, it was less people, less complex objects. I was able to focus more on the afternoon sun and get that expanse of the clouds and the mountains in the distance, the shadow of certain clouds coming through, the light, shadow, I really like that sense of depth. You know, that rock right there is it's maybe 10 to 12 feet away, but that sense of like, that rock is right there. You feel like you can almost kick it. And then if you want to get to that mountain, that's going to be like a few hours, maybe a day if you want to try and climb that, you know. By the way, I have, I think that's Turtle Head Peak. I have hiked Turtle Head Peak, which is, I think that's mountain. I did it like in one shot, like an hour and a half, but that's just not crazy old butt. Turtle Head Peak, you can actually see everything. It's a hikeable mountain, it's a hikeable path, but it's like, there are some vertical areas where it's an adjustment, so caution it. But yeah, this is afternoon diamond, blue diamond, afternoon diamond. You know, so.
Hi, I have a question, but I need to go back to this piece here.
Yes.
Because I know it's a lot more foggier in the Bay Area than it is in the LA area. So that was an all-day thing, and how nice it is over in Sausalito also to be looking over. But you know, I know it's kind of the bridge might be on the fog all day.
Yeah, that was a crazy thing because for that, I mean, once again, I was up there for about a week. I was actually scheduled to go up there for. I performed twice at this studio's anniversary dance studio, and I remember thinking like, okay, I want to go paint. Like, damn, San Francisco's always foggy. It's always damn cold, you know. So, but that day was like a day of days. I remember the video. Once again, that has the QR code. This has a QR code.
Oh, okay. Whether
in this video room or if you scan it, go to my YouTube channel, whatever. You can see I'm wearing a T-shirt. So it was actually warm and sunny the whole day, and so that was like, I was very fortunate for that day. It was like maybe one or two, but for that time I was there, that was like the one sunny day. So I was like, I was gonna do it either way.
Okay.
The only thing that would have stopped me is if it was an earthquake. I was gonna either get an umbrella, take the umbrella I was gonna do, you know, I was going up there. Once again, it's like, you can go back up there, but the moment is now. Sometimes you just gotta, it's now or never. So, but yeah, that was like one of the rare days. And I was back there like early December, and it was just like cloudy, you know. I was back there for some other stuff.
Because most people visiting there is like, well, I rode across the Golden Gate Bridge, but I really didn't see it, you know, it's like because it's so foggy and everything. So
yeah, it was actually when I was there for about a few days, and I actually did a quick sketch from the opposite side. So there are these viewpoints area over here on the San Francisco side. I did it was like a small sketch from from that side. So it's almost like the direct opposite of where I was from. But that day was sunny, but it was cold. That was in December. This was like in April or something, so it wasn't
as cold.
It wasn't as cold, so a little bit more bearable. But so that was the family room, video room. You have time, landscape room, and now we're gonna make. Oh yes, Coney Island. So yes. Nathan's hot dogs. So this was a late morning sketch, and so if any of you are familiar with it, whether you grew up there, lived there, or just visited, Coney Island, if you're living or residing or staying in the New York area, it's not the one, but it's probably the most recognizable, closest point where you can get to if you want to see some water, the beach, there are beachscapes. So that was a late afternoon, and that wasn't as bad actually, because at the beaches, people are kind of doing their own thing. You have beachgoers, you have transients who are pretty much stationed, you have families that are stationed, so they'll pretty much just leave you alone. They may walk and they'll see from a distance, but they're not too enamored with that, that was actually the least, of all these pieces, because everyone's there, like, they're enjoying their own vacation, being on the beach in the waters, and it wasn't, I was like, maybe 30 or 40 yards, maybe 50, 60 yards from that. So I was able, my idea was to back far enough so that, like, if you're gonna come around me, you're gonna either step into all this watery sand or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah. I was trying to position myself to where, like, I couldn't do it here, but I try and position myself to where if you want to see what I'm doing, you can kind of see from a distance, but you're gonna have to work for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not just gonna like give it away to you. You're gonna have to like work and get around, and so people were less likely to sort of walk around, and they just were not. It's New Yorkers; they could care less. I mean, gosh, some very, very pivotal things happened in New York City. So it's like me painting is like whatever, So stuff happened, on the trains, 9/11, World Trade 93. So it's like that pales in comparison. So it's like, So let's make our way into the next room is her portrait. We have family, we have video, landscape, and her portrait. So all you can, I'm sorry, right here. You're like, okay. This has a really loud echo in here. And it's quite cool. So all of you can, I'm sorry.
Feels good.
Yes. You can all, if you choose, you can make your way in here. We're almost, we're more than halfway done. So if you choose, you can all come on in here. This room is her portrait. Okay? We have portraits in the other room. That was family. We have portraits in this room. This is her portrait. So, okay. Hello, sir. Come around in, sir.
Yeah,
you have
I can bring another chair in too.
Any more chairs needed?
No.
Okay. So. Okay, the crowd is dwindling down. We're getting down to the troopers, So we're getting down to the people that I can count on to take over the government. But so this room is her portrait, meaning that these are renderings, these are paintings of female portraits, faces, and these are all ladies that I know, meaning that dancers. Most of them are dancers. One of them is an artist, and one of them I met at another event. So going back to the books that I mentioned, the first books, those painters, they painted figurative, drawing or painting the face, the figure is one of the most challenging things as an artist. In this case, as a representational artist, it's also a good training method. So, but I also find it very fascinating to continue to, no two poses, no lighting situation. Your personality changes every moment. Every moment is so different from the next. So I could paint any of you for a year, and for whatever reason, your personality or my personality or the lighting or whatever happens in a day, the portrait's going to be different. So it's always challenging it's always interesting, intriguing to see a face and see what pulls out of it. So some of them are gazing at the viewer, some of them are in profile, some of them in 3/4. you know, that's part of just a practice. Come on in, sir. You make your way on in. Okay,
I
cool.
can hear you.
And some are more gravitating than others. Some are more engaging than others. That's just either the moment I was in, or either the sitter. But once again, all these moments bring out certain things, you know, whether from the artist or from the sitter or the frames themselves. I did my best to locate, search out, research frames that I thought would work well for each piece. They kind of bring on, if you switch up the frames, they're going to give it a whole different, like, not a whole different, but they're going to give a different character. But here you can see Paola. She is looking at the viewer. Sandra and Celine. Sandra's looking, she's 3/4 view, Celine's in profile. So technically, certain things come out, you know, I find this a little bit more engaging, you know, so that really came together. You know, certain things, some of these pieces are, you know, it didn't pull together, you know, the gesture, the sculpture. I thought that really, the wash showing through, the ground showing through, I thought that really came together. That really all, and that was like, I wasn't thinking about that one, so. And all these pieces, if you actually, whether if it's today or if you want to come back on another day, if you actually walk, if you're in this room by yourself and you stand here, there's this like, it is just this weird intensity. I was telling Mary Lou when she hung the work, it's like, it was intense. You know, these are just like objects of paint and wood, but there are these illusions, there are these stories, there are these moments and emotions that happen. It's like, it's really intense. It's like everyone, it's like you're being juried by all these people.
Right there.
It's weird when you come in here alone and you just stand right here and you kind of look around and you can even close your eyes. You just feel like these people are looking at you. It's a weird thing. It's like, so that's another thing that art can, like, you know, it can really go beyond, you know, this two-dimensional surface, you know, so. But yeah, so let me see if there are any. Caitlin, she's actually all of these ladies, they live and reside for the most part in Las Vegas. I met them when I moved here and eventually started networking at different events. So that's Caitlin, that's Erica, behind you, that's Karma, and actually I ran into her when I used to sketch out in front of the Bellagio. Paola, Sandra and Celine, Kaori. I saw her last night at my friend's salsa event. Carla, she lives in Florida now. But I met most of these ladies either within the salsa social circle, either that they come out socially or that they perform for a team once or what have you. There's Kaori. You can tell he saw her today. Let's see, it's Erica. She's been living for a while. She's actually from Brooklyn. There are very specific stories on where they're from. Paula's from Colombia. Karma's from Louisiana. Sandra's from Peru. Selena's from France. Kaori's from outside of Tokyo. Carla, I think she's Peruvian, but she grew up here in Las Vegas. Caitlin, I don't think she's from here. I forget. No, she moved to Las Vegas. Okay, I can't remember where she's from, but she lives and resides here. She does a lot of like geometric mural projects. You may have seen them. You actually may have seen them because she does a lot of stuff throughout Vegas. Stuff in pools, stuff on walls, stuff on ceilings, and stuff like that. So, let me see. Yeah. So, yeah, getting into their specific stories or their backgrounds, that I could like go on for forever, you know. But Sandra's very, and she's like when you meet her, she'll immediately become your mother. She hugs you, she asks, you know, how are you doing, things like this. She's very motherly. Let's see who else. But they all have their own unique qualities. The thing about this room is that, just so I don't want to go too off on tangent and tell too many stories about like each specific person, but the strength about this room is that like standing in the middle once you're in this room alone, and just there's a sense of like wow, everyone's like watching you. It's just a weird thing, you know, interesting. But so we're gonna make our way to the adjacent room. So we had the family room, we had the video room, the landscape room, her portrait, and we're down to the final room. We're down to the last 100 miles. So let's all make our way. We're almost there. We're almost there. I know you can hold your thoughts, hold them for another few minutes. You can say, I wish this guy would stop talking. Believe me, I don't talk this much. It's like, I'm pretty laid back. But this is, take a seat. Make sure everyone's in here. Want to come on in, sir? Okay. And this is titled the adjacent room, meaning that, adjacent meaning things that are next to each other. So we have a combination of street scenes, of still life, of works on paper as opposed to, works on oil and canvas. So I thought I'd just be to appropriately title, adjacent, these different themes are next to each other. So I guess I'll start back here. So this is actually, if you've been to Utah, if you've been to Moab, if you've been to the Arches National Park, as you drive up, you go through the entryway and drive up, this is going to be the first stop, the first viewpoint that you're going to see, that you're going to stop and look at. It's called Park Avenue. They all have their names and themes. And then I never fully researched why, but I figured that because of the way these rock formations, they look like skyscrapers, like you're looking down, you're walking down Park Avenue, and you have these skyscrapers like, form this perspective. But yeah, so that was a very quick sketch. Well, actually not that quick. There was a lot. It was a ballpoint pen, so there was a lot going on there. Quick compared to these other pieces. So quick compared to that Los Angeles piece. But that was also for a dance event. I had a moment to step away, and if I can't carry my paints, I'll at least carry my pen and pad. And if I can't carry that, it's an iPad. If I can't carry that, I have the Note 10. So I'm gonna draw either way. So, I'm gonna draw and paint either way. So, so that was on location. That was live. That was like late afternoon, and that was I was up the whole weekend. But I had a moment like Sunday afternoon before performances to go out and sketch. This piece is titled Before the Performance. If you go back to a game of chess, a large portrait. A lot of my, certain performances I had a blazer. This I'm adorning the tie. That other piece I'm adorning the bow tie. But it's blazer, tie, slacks, and shoes. And so that's a quick sketch. That's very quick. And so that's sorry. What? Yeah, I was like posing. I was like, I was doing a pose where like so with the moves, so I was like I just want to stand like that, like and just kind of sketch it. But that wasn't too challenging, So the once again, the thing with that, as much as just as important as those, that's a basis for all these pieces. I mean, you want to get a good gesture, you want to get a good foundation, Otherwise, if that's not right, that piece, the large piece is going to look horrible, like slop, Jabba the Hutt or something. But yeah, so that's a quick sketch. This is Blah Blah Stage Theater. During the time, before, during, and after the time I did some stuff for Cirque du Soleil, I worked and performed in this theater, Blah Blah Stage Theater, which it's still in Times Square, but this is actually the storefront across from Yard House. If you go to Yard House, it's actually west of it, and it used to be, there was Blah Blah Stage Theater. Wasa Kulabale, who used to be one of the main characters for Zumendi a few years back, for about 10 years. She leased that theater out, and she brought a lot of people together, a lot of certain performers and so forth, and people connected within the performance industry. And we started like collaborating and put together this play, but it started functioning as other things, like poet night, jazz night, rented out for different events. But this is like the moment before the performance, when that waiting area, before you go through the curtain and the stage is dark. It's like that quiet moment where you get in like an hour early and just want to sit before the crowd comes in, and then before the curtain opens, people allowed to go in and sit down in the theater, and then 20 to 30 minutes later, the lights go dark and the show starts. That's like that quiet moment. And I'll just see these reds, these burgundies, and the chairs. I thought was very, that's like, it's quiet. Yeah. It's so quiet compared to the other noisy pieces. So, this piece right here. Being an artist, I've worked at different companies, like logistic and shipping companies, besides working in galleries. So I have experience of being in warehouses. I've operated forklifts. pallet jacks and move things, move literally 300-pound crates by myself, lifting them up and so I know and understand and I get the warehouse. So, but I thought the forklift was always like an interesting object
Like
vehicle.
Yeah, at the conventions, it's like my job.
Yeah. And it's like, it's the forklift is like, it's you definitely want to respect this vehicle. It can do wonders for you. Such a small little object in comparison to a large warehouse can arrange and do so much, but it can also be very dangerous
It's heavy
and
to
fatal.
cars.
Yes, it's dangerous. So, but there's respect for the forklift. It's this piece of time of distribution and export. You bring things in, you distribute them, you organize them, you export them. It's all things going in and out. So this is any industry. This is food, this is furniture, art. It's any industry. But I just like that. If you want to knock on the metal of that surface of the forklift, it's like you're gonna break your hands.
Yes.
I get that feeling of like
Steel, iron.
That steel, that
Yes.
iron. So and those heavy weighted forks.
It makes like that intentional.
Yeah. So this guy knows. This guy
Yes.
knows. So it's like
You gotta lift them up and put them on.
No,
Yeah.
well, we tilt them forward and we could ply them on, but those things are heavy.
Yeah. So it's those are something else. But yeah, that interior, it's not really quiet. It's quiet, meaning that was a quiet moment. But when you look at it, you know that you can hear the noise. This is like you hear the deaf quietness of before the show. So
Yeah, it's really different.
these are some Cuban dance heels, dance shoes that I used to have, which have since been purchased, worn, resewed, restitched, and then eventually thrown away.
Wow.
So they've had their chapter, they've come and gone. But that was a simple still life, and so that wasn't too challenging. That was pretty much in the studio, no disturbance, no noise. That was pretty much straightforward, but I thought it was appropriate to, document that. Let me move over to, let me go back over to this piece right here. This is actually, if those of you that are familiar with cities or towns around, specifically the LA area, this is Glendale. This is like near the Galleria area. This is where there's like a Galleria mall, then there's like a promenade outdoor shopping area, like right across the street from each other. And then this is like walking down the side, that's like the dumpster area. And I get attracted to the oddest things of just these angles and little sort of caverns and sort of spaces. These compositions that like just the oddest things like, why are you taking pictures of this and that? So it was just these things like this right here, this angle like this, and then that depth back in there.
Right there.
Where is this gonna? I feel like I want to like go back in there, what's down there, but like just that curve right there. So that was more the attraction for that was just like this more technical appeasement of the angles and the depth and the space. So if anything, that was that story. So that's why that's titled, the cavern. So that has a different take on, and this goes back to I did this because I did some stuff with Cirque du Soleil. If you actually go to my website, which is wadehampton.com, you scroll down, you're going to see the Cirque du Soleil performance. So it was back in 2013. So I'm one of 9 dancers that were on the O stage at the Bellagio. So that's a result of me doing some stuff with Cirque du Soleil. So that's the stories, the reasons why I like Okay, wow, that's nice. What the hell? It's like, what the hell? This is another quiet moment. It's like the off street from the busy streets. If any of you are familiar, or if you've been to Tucson, if you grew up there, you know about Congress. So this is not far from that classic theater which has been restored. The restaurants and everything. It's emptiness off Congress, meaning that I was with some friends. This is for another salsa band, but we had a chance to get away and go eat. And it was, it's like you're walking along the boulevard, and all of a sudden you turn off to you turn, you make a right turn, and all of a sudden you go 10 feet in. It's almost like you hear noise, but like you don't hear it. It's just like everything just disappeared, and it looked like it looks so fake because it looked like a Hollywood set.
It's deserted. Right?
Yeah, it looked like everything. You know, it's a real street. It's a real scene. But it's like sometimes at night, like because night is like you have the artificial light and things are lit and things are sort of propped and set up. It's like you'll drive past certain streets and it looks like a Hollywood set. Like as if you were driving through Warner Brothers and this street is for this street is for that. It just looked like, it didn't look like it was an actual living and functioning or part of a side street.
Remember 02 Sun?
Oh yeah. But yeah, that was like, you know, that was like, wow, it was beautiful in that sense, you know, so, but once again, that, for other reasons, like as empty and as poetic as that can seem, whether you're sketching or painting, you still want to like, okay, who's going to jump out of that window? Who's going to come behind me? So it's like, sometimes, you know, artists do crazy things, but that I'm not really doing crazy stuff.
Did you do that at night?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I did a lot of sketching and did the piece. It actually wasn't as, I'll go a little bit technically, there's not too many colors involved. There are some colors, but it's a lot of with the pieces are just massing the large shapes and then going in with some details. And there's a lot of things that were like, you know, a lot of things I just had to let go. I just had to stop thinking about it, you know, so I kept like erasing and taking this part out, and I just kind of left it as is, and it kind of has its own gestural quality. It kind of fades out from it, but yeah. So some things are very challenging. Some things just like come through. And then the last piece, we're down to the last piece. So all of you have made it so far. So the actually, if everyone can all of you see? Okay. So we are down to, actually if you can come in here, and then that way we can, let's go, okay, actually right there is cool, that was cool. So, and then, okay, so this piece is the bongo drums. And once again, if you scan the, I'll do it quickly right now. Just take your phone and just, you scan the QR code and it opens up the app. And so this piece was actually, okay.
My phone's not doing it either. I tried to find wayhampton.com and it wouldn't find it.
Oh yeah, it's either you may have to download a separate app, or either if you have the latest phone of that of your operating system, you know, the latest version, latest phone, it's going to have it automatically. But this is it's an iPhone, it has it with it.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, cool, yeah. So actually, if I'm using your phone, that's just as much of an example. So this is anyone coming through.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
Which way? Oh.
Yeah. So that was just a preview. That was just a preview. But basically, when you download the app, or if your phone is equipped with the QR scanning method, once again, if you decide not to do anything, if you decide just to run through, 5 seconds run through, you can still just sort of go through. And you can still, the thing is, you can still take something home with you. If you don't take a card, if you don't buy a piece, please buy a piece. No, I'm just kidding. But if you don't do anything, if you don't sign it, if you don't speak with the director or the assistants, you can still, if you have a smartphone, you can still take something home with you. So this takes you to my YouTube channel. So this is at the window gallery.
Okay.
So I actually set up the bongo drums, which one of my friends had given. Actually, the Japanese lady.
Are actually there.
Yeah.
Oh, you won't let
Got
you
40.
see me?
Yeah.
Nice.
But I'll quickly so those are the drums. Yeah, I'll quickly sort of pan around. And so the Japanese lady in her portrait room, her boyfriend had given me those bongo drums because I was learning. I was trying to learn how to play the bongo drums. Being a salsa dancer, being a folklore dancer, like I had an
It's
interest.
been for 30 years. Bongos, all that has been for 30 years.
Okay, there we go. There you go.
Yeah.
So that was at another exhibit. That was, which doesn't happen too often. You go to an exhibit, whether it's, established or obviously not deceased, but established or emerging, where you can, I think I can step outside myself and sort of say, it would be really cool. That was really cool. I went to an exhibit, I met the artist. The artist actually went through all the rooms himself, no one else talked about it, but I also got a chance to see him paint, he didn't just show a painting, he actually put up something right there, painted it, so I thought that was a real treat for those from the other side of the seat. Yeah. Yes. So once again, this is where you can, if you don't have it, if your phone is your camera is not defaultly equipped with it, you can download an app, whether on iOS or Android, and you can still take something home with you. The easiest way to find out about me online is, it's as simple as my name, wadehampton.com. You go to the website, you scroll down, scroll down to the bottom, you're gonna see the social media links. Facebook. I'm not on Instagram that much. Twitter, I usually post stuff from Instagram and YouTube, which is Wade75. And someone had asked back in the other room, the subtitle on the videos, the larger videos, it said Wade75.com. That was my prior website name, meaning that at the time when I was researching Wade Hampton, my mind was not aware to, to purchase the name. I was thinking like, I'm not gonna pay you. That's not my But after a while, it's like I realized that like, I should really like, unfortunately buy myself or get my name. So I bought it from GoDaddy. It was on sale, and it's like I haven't felt, it's the feeling's been amazing. It's like
yes.
Whatever you're gonna pay for it, it's like it's now you have you back. So it's like. And plus now it's so simple. Wade, I was named after my, here's your phone back, so. I was about to take it off. But Wade, my full name is Larry Wade Hampton. Larry Wade, I still, on Facebook, I still use my full name because it's, with the 2 billion people on Facebook, it is so easy just to, Larry Wade Hampton, it pops right up.
Can we friend you?
Yeah, please, by all means. If you've taken any pictures or any videos, if it's easier for you just to remember wadehampton.com or Larry Wade Hampton on Facebook, friend me, tag me, what have you. But only on Facebook do I still, and then family, you're always going to be Larry to me. But there was a point where Larry, I was named after my uncle, who he passed away before my time. Years ago, he had cerebral palsy, so he only lived for so long, like 20. And then Wade, I was named after my grandfather, William Wade Hampton. If you Google Hampton Street, you're going to see he was in Sweet Home, Arkansas. It's a street literally named after him for the name that he was given. For the name that he was given by
Where are you?
you have to type in my full name, Larry Wade Hampton.
Thank you.
Yeah, Larry. Yeah. So that's this reason why. If for those of you that are even have a care for Facebook, if you type in Wade Hampton or Larry Hampton, you're going to get like a slew of oh man, where is this guy? He's lying to us. He's not on Facebook. But it's Larry Wade Hampton. You type it up, it'll pop up. But
Thank you.
William Wade Hampton, named after my grandfather on my father's side. I think one of the paintings I was George Lewis Stewart, grandfather on my great grandfather on my mother's side. William Wade Hampton, my grandfather on my father's side. He was born in 1900. Wade, his middle name.
There you are.
Yes, right there. The guy sitting on the chair.
Got it.
Wade75, Wade by its verb it means to move forward or wade in water. 75. One of the terms for the number 75 is creative inspiration. So move forward with creative inspiration. So, but eventually I realized I just gotta buy my name and just simplify it. So that way, I don't think if you've met me, if you realize, okay, who's Wade Hampton, what's his website? Oh, that's his name, it's his website. So you can easily get to it that way, and you can easily find out about this piece. Just as much as easily as he did search it on his phone.
Wow.
And
the pictures.
Oh yes, it's actually so this so yeah, so once again I'll quickly go off a little bit off tangent. So I'm also a dancer. So that was the white on the tractor.
Nice.
That was my grandfather's tractor, which is no longer in use, but it's more of it just sits in my grandmother's yard.
Collector's item.
Yeah.
It's lemonade.
Vintage.
So I also have an attraction, I like the white on the blue sky, the brown skin, the bare feet. So
Nice.
the steel iron tractor. So the contrast of everything. So but yeah, so that kind of gives you a little eye into why I do certain things. But yeah, so that yes sir. Yes.
My wife and I came there before, and we looked at everything. But it doesn't mean as much as what you explained about each one of them really makes a big difference.
Thank you.
Yeah, we look at them, I didn't know anything about it, but what you explained about each one really makes a big difference.
Thank you. Oh yeah, that was. Oh,
Wow. I'm
There's
trying not to be rude. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. No. I'll defend this in spirit. Don't. You know, this is a whole. This is like just one minor example of why artists document and create these stories. Because this is an offshoot of. These bounce off each other. This is an offshoot of this. This is why I'm the way I am. This is why I paint the way I paint. This is obviously you can see I'm real. Peach me. I'm real. So I'm saying this because this was at the Grand Canyon.
That's intense.
So don't worry. I jumped close to the cliff, but I did survive because I'm still here. You know, how many people, unfortunately, may God, may they all rest in peace, but there are, a fair number of people that perish each year. I think was it last year, like last spring, there was like so many people, like it was like, adventurous, because of the age of technology, people want to take selfies. The past 5-10 years, now it's become more apparent, people adventurous would take selfies, on the edge of the cliff, they fall off,
And painting.
But I'm actually,
Thank you.
the idea as an artist is to, push the stories, to create an illusion. These are all illusions. This is not real, but there's on a two-dimensional plane. It looks real. It feels real. So, so I was actually maybe a good 30 feet from the actual cliff, and so I wasn't like here's the cliff and this is where I am. So, but this is a weird thing because I decided to once again it's like, okay, I want to get I want to get a nice profile picture, whatever. So I'm a dancer. My website colors are red, white, and black. So I wore the red, the white. I like the sky blue because of the contrast. And then I set up some things, and I set the thing on timer. And I can't tell you how many times I had that. Yeah, this was interesting. There's some stories which pale in comparison to this, which is like why I'm actually still here. So this is it's a photograph. It's just a photograph. It's not a painting, but it gives you an eye into the artist of how they think, their story, their colors that they choose for their paintings, their compositions. And so, but I remember doing this, and I don't know, if you take off your shoes and walk around off the asphalt trail of Grand Canyon, there are a lot of rocks, there's a lot of pebbles, there's a lot of things, sharp things that will cut your feet. Maybe because I'm a dancer, but I don't know how many times I've had to, go from the camera, 15 feet away, jump up, time it properly, go back, check. No, not right. No. I mean, just think about that. So it's like, but you get into a zone, you get into a crazy, an effing crazy zone where you just want to get what you want to get, and you don't want to get anything else. It has to be it's very specific. Art is very finicky. It's like,
yes.
I hate it and I love it, but it's like But yeah, so this was a all these things tie in, so. But yes, so here you go, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank all of you very much. So,
It was a great pleasure meeting you, sir.
I appreciate the